In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a proposal for a web development project. Here's what we're going to be working with. The client gave us mobile and desktop designs, and he wants these designs to be turned into a modern website. The client wants to edit its content using a CMS. The way we're going to approach this is we'll be making a fixed price proposal instead of, say, an hourly estimate. We're going to break down the work into pages, components, and features, and then we're going to estimate the amount of effort or value for each component or feature. And the sum of those estimations will become the price that we offer to our client. Now, it's important that we really go into detail when we break down the work into components, pages, and features. This way, we can accurately estimate the amount of work, and we can demonstrate to the client that we understand the work that needs to be done. It's also great to have a detailed proposal if the client wants to negotiate. Then we can offer to simplify certain aspects that required a lot of work, but the client might not need. So for this video, I'm going to work with the following design. It's actually just a template for an author website I found on the internet. It's a nice, simple one-page design, so it won't take too long to create this proposal. All right, so I'm going to bring up CakeDesk here. And I've already created my client, and now I'm going to head over to Proposals and click on New Proposal. I'm going to select my client. I'm just going to give my proposal a name here. Now here in the proposal text, I always like to point out a few things. So for one, the proposal is not binding because we'll be creating and signing a contract for this project anyways. The proposal does not include VAT because usually a business doesn't care about that. And it's also a good idea to give the proposal an expiration date. This creates some urgency and also lets you get on with planning and scheduling other projects. And if the client takes half a year to accept the proposal, you're not under any obligation if your situation has changed in the meantime. All right, now, the way I like to approach writing proposals is I like to first create an outline of deliverables. In this case, we have only two things: some general features, including things like project setup and SEO, and the actual website itself, which here consists of only the landing page. When writing a proposal, you can use it as an opportunity to sell your services by showing the client that you understand what needs to be done. So let's start by summarizing back to the client the requirements of the project. He's going to be able to edit all the content via CMS. In our case, we'll use Sanity.io. We'll build the site using a modern stack with React and Next.js. We're going to develop it in a Git repository. There will be 2 rounds of feedback plus corrections. And we will test and support evergreen browsers. And of course, we'll also do some technical search engine optimization just by the fact that we're writing clean semantic HTML markup, creating user-friendly URLs, and we'll have SSL on the website once it's up and running. Everybody loves a performant website, so of course we'll be doing some basic performance optimizations. There will be lazy loading where necessary. We'll be using responsive images, and the JavaScript will be code split. For the basic setup, we need to set up the website, we need to set up the CMS, and we're also going to automate the deployments to Vercel and Sanity. We'll also put in some extra effort and allow the site to be statically generated. And when content changes, the site will get redeployed automatically. And in the CMS, we'll do some extra work so the content can be previewed instantly without having to publish and rebuild the entire site. Now, for the overhead that we have of setting up the project is what we're going to charge. I think for the basic setup, it might take us about 2.5 hours to set up the website, 2.5 hours to set up the CMS, and maybe another hour to set up the Vercel project and a CI pipeline for Sanity deployments. That's 6 hours in total, so we'll charge 600 euros. The static site generation is a little annoying to set up and debug, so we'll estimate 3 hours for that and charge 300 euros. It's always a good idea to charge for setup costs because otherwise a client might reduce the project down to very little, but you'd still be stuck with having to do all the setup work. Now let's get to the actual landing page. I'm mostly just going to go through the design first and describe what I see. We have a website header. It consists of a logo, some navigation links, and a Twitter share button. On mobile, it looks very simple, so we'll only need minimal adjustments. And let's make a note that the content will be editable via CMS. The hero section consists of a large image, a title, a description, and a newsletter sign-up form. At this point, we actually have to go into a little more detail because the sign-up form is interactive and requires us to integrate with some kind of a backend provider. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new section in my proposal for this newsletter sign-up form. It will consist of an email field and a submit button. We'll need to handle loading, error, and success states, and we'll also need to integrate with MailChimp or a similar service. Now let's complete the rest of the hero section. We have some brands that trust us, and mobile looks very straightforward again, so we'll make a note of that. In my head, I'm going kind of through a checklist for each section. So first, what do I see on the desktop version? How is the mobile version different? And do we need to do anything in the CMS? Now I'm just going to write down everything else I see on this website before I add the costs. Okay. Make sure to take your time to go into detail with every part of the page. Now let's attach some money values to each section. The website header is very simple. I think we can implement the front end in 1 hour and maybe spend 1 more hour on the CMS integration, so we'll charge 200 euros for the header. The hero is just slightly more complicated. For the brands, we'll need to create a little grid, and every additional field also means there's a little more work on the CMS, so we'll charge 300 euros for the hero section. Taking a look at the book section again, this one is also very simple, so we'll just charge 100 euros for this one. Same thing for the testimonial section, and the author section will do 100 euros each. And the footer will also be pretty easy. You can do that in 1 hour. Alright, now all that's left is our newsletter sign-up form. Thankfully, we broke it down into little units of work already, so it's easy to estimate. We'll do the layout for 100 euros. We'll spend about an hour tweaking the details of the various states. To integrate the backend service, we want to take a little more time, and we'll also have to do some research, maybe read a bit of API documentation. So we'll charge 300 euros for this. And now our proposal is pretty much done. Let's save it and let's take a look. This PDF we can now send to the client. It contains all the details, and I'm sure he'll come away with the impression that we've made a fair offer and we're up to the task. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to leave a comment. If you're curious about the app I was using to create the proposal, it's called CakeDesk. You can find out more about it by going to cakedesk.app.